Well, this winter for me, it's kind of been very much a commercial winter. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We are heading in towards spring now, but lots of people have seen that I haven't really been going on as many natural venues this winter. I've spent quite a bit of time at Hallcroft. That was for the Feeder Masters Winter Pairs. And then the other league that I've been fishing is the Lindome, Drennan International, Bomb and Feeder League. And as you probably already know, those two venues are commercials. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed is I've enjoyed fishing with baits that are a little bit easier to fish with, a little bit more shelf life. And, you know, lots of people see me fishing natural venues through the summer where you might be turning up with a kilo of worms from casters. Just about before every single match, you're having to go to the tackle shop for fresh bait and that sort of thing. And whilst that can obviously get expensive, it is actually adding a little bit more prep to your game. You know, you're constantly on to think in advance. You know, it might be Monday or Tuesday, you're thinking, do I need to order casters for the weekend? Do I need to get some fresh maggots? However, when you're fishing leagues like I have done at Lindome Lakes, then a lot of the baits you're using are basically mainly pellets, which are obviously you could just carry with you in a bag. Corn is incredibly easy to fish with because you either open a can and it's there and ready, or if you have frozen it, then it's just a case of taking it out of the freezer the night before or even on the morning, and that's away you go, because a lot of your hook baits are wafters and pellets and that sort of thing. However, sometimes, certainly in winter, we often find that we do have to carry some natural baits with us. You might want to carry some maggots or some pinkies if you're going to be going for silverfish and things like that, which is quite often something we have to do in winter leagues just to get some extra fish in the net. And I've seen an increase in questions about the prep side of my fishing. Morning. About the prep side of my fishing. And, you know, if you can cut down on your prep in certain areas, then, you know, that's going to ultimately make your fishing a little bit more enjoyable. And one of the things I've been asked about 2 or 3 times by channel members is that how I'm actually managing my bait bag and everything through winter, and how I'm trying to make sure I'm not wasting bait. It's all right going out and buying a pint of maggots, but if you're going to put them in the freezer and kill them, then that's all well and good if you need a pint. However, if you're only using 20 or 30 dead red maggots, then, you know, you can't refreeze dead maggots. They're done with, you know. And so I don't know why I've seen an increase in questions about how I actually prepare my dead red maggots and how I manage my bait through winter to try and cut down on waste. You know, it's expensive enough as it is to fish matches these days, and if we could cut down on cost and things, then that's obviously going to be better. So I've been on the bank the last few days and my van is an absolute right mess. It needs cleaning, I know. There's lots of mud in there as well, because lots of fisheries get a little bit muddy this time of year, especially when we've had rain. So I'm just going to quickly show you my bait bag, what I've been using for the last 2 or 3 matches, and just the way that I manage my bait. I know this needs cleaning out, and that will be my job for tomorrow. As you can see, plenty of dried mud there. I'll be able to sweep all that out as soon as I get home. So I've been doing lots of different sorts of fishing this winter. I've obviously got plenty of rods in there. I've even got my pole in there. I was out with the pole doing some pole fishing yesterday. And the main bag, well, the bait bag that I use this all year round now, and that is this one. Okay, it's obviously the Matrix one. It is insulated line. That's obviously for the summer months. And I find that is way too big for all my bait during winter. So I use it to carry a few other things, which just obviously frees up space in my carry-all, which is underneath. Again, covered in mud. But it just means that everything I carry now is just really in these two, and they store really, really easy on my wheel kit. Okay, simple as that. And so this is it from, I mean, I've been out 3 sessions now with this bag, and this is exactly how it is in the raw, as it were. Okay, so basically in here I've got, that is the new bait bucket, also the water bucket. So if I'm high off the water, I can use that to just drop down and get some water. Saves me going right near the edge of the water. Okay, in there I will generally carry, there are 2 or 3 different sorts of ground bait, because I've been on 2 or 3 different venues. I've got different mixes in there, so all my, and you don't need a lot, obviously. You're not using 2 kilos of ground bait everywhere. Sometimes you only need a pint or 2 of each. So I've got a couple of different mixes in there, so I can tailor make what I think I need for that particular venue. Obviously empty bait bags, always very, very useful. I've been out there with some corn. F1 corn is what I've been using, and I do refreeze it. You know, there are times when, you know, you might have some left over like that. As long as you bag it up straight away, immediately after the session, I drain the water off, bag it up straight away, and that will go straight in the freezer, and I'll be able to reuse that again. You know, you don't want to go wasting corn. This time of year you might want to be using 40 grains all day, sometimes less than that, so you don't, obviously you're not always going to need a full tin. So I refreeze them in these bags, and I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. So I'll be taking those home with me later on today, where they will go in the freezer. Here I've got some casters. These have got, they're the older ones, so there's a little bit of bag burn on there, as you can see, but I kept them because I thought if I do run out of the ones that are slightly fresher, then I obviously have got some. And you know, they will go back in the fridge tonight, not the freezer. They'll go back in the fridge. And you know, if I'm going to be out over the next couple of days, those ones probably will go in the bin. Those ones I think should keep okay for the next day or two. But obviously if they don't, well, at least I've given them the chance, and then I can order fresh if not. Alright, underneath there, they're all my hook wafters and pellets. Everything I carry, some people have got a bag as big as this with all the little hook baits and stuff in. I find that that holds everything that I need. There are some mini wafters in there, bandams. There's all sorts in there, something to cover every eventuality, so that sits in there. Over here I've got some pinkies, again bagged up, and I'll tell you how I manage those in a moment. I manage them the same way that I manage my maggots as well. Alright, then over here, so obviously some empty bait bags from bait that I've used. Down there, in that one container, believe it or not, are all my method feeders and pellet feeders. There's literally 50 feeders in there to cover every single eventuality, every shape, size, style of method feeder that I use, and that's in there just purely because there's room for it. I don't need all this big bag just for bait. Okay, so that's there, and then here in this stack here is basically all my bait boxes. At this time of year you don't need masses of bait. You might have a number of smaller quantities of bait, so you know, quite find that these 1.1, 1.1 pint tubs are ideal in winter. There's a couple of larger ones down there at the bottom. So that really is it. You know, it's a nice waterproof bag, which is good. And when I do get round to washing it, I can obviously wet this down and wipe it all down clean. And this is a waterproof zip as well, if you've got baits in there you want to keep out of the rain. Now, the maggots. Let me quickly show you how I manage these during winter. Now, some people might say that this is because I'm a tight Yorkshireman, and that's fair enough, I get that. My maggots in winter, I don't kill them. That is it, I don't kill them, because once you kill them, you've either got to use them, and then what you don't use, you've got to throw away. You can't refreeze them, they will go black, and they're just, the quality is rubbish, alright? I don't kill my maggots. What I do is, I bag them up, or bag them down, as some people say. I've done this, I've experimented with so many different ways of killing maggots. If you want a dormant, or a dead-like maggot, the best way, I think, personally, and the way that I do it, is just by bagging them down. Basically, all that means is when you get them from the tackle shop, pop them in a bag like this. Okay, it's got to be the right sort of bag. I don't know the name of the material, but you see how shiny it is? Some sandwich bags that you can buy from the supermarket or home stores or whatever, they're actually a little bit porous, and they will let air through. They're specifically designed for sandwiches and packed lunches and all that business. They need to be this solid material, okay, because that won't let the air through. That is where the difference is. Some of those bags will allow air through, so the maggots won't go dormant. When I get them from the tackle shop, I put them straight in a bag like that, squeeze the air out, and then pop them in the fridge. What that will do is, it will obviously, because they're in the fridge, it will slow them down, because they'll obviously go cooler, but because you cut off the air supply, they will go dormant. Now, I mentioned this in a 4-Minute Friday about a year ago, and I didn't possibly go into as much detail about it because still a few people didn't quite understand how I did it. So basically what that means is that in that current state, those maggots are still alive. They are still alive, so that gives me the option that if I'm going to a match today, tomorrow, if I want those maggots to stay dormant and act like a dead maggot, that is exactly what they're doing. So I will take the maggots out of here, pop them in a bait tub and cover the bait tub with water. What that will do is the water will cut off the oxygen to the maggots, which means they will stay in that dormant state, and because they're in water, it'll keep them nice and soft and in tip-top condition. On the flip side of that, if I suddenly decide that I want some live maggots, you might want some for the hook or for loose feeding, all I need to do is open that bag up and then expose these maggots to the air. Once they get exposed to the air, to the oxygen, they will gradually come round. If you've got some sun shining like we have today, face them into the sun, because that'll bring the temperature up and that will bring them round quicker. The one thing you need to remember, however, is that the longer that these have been bagged down in this state, the longer it will take for them to come round. So try and be aware of that, all right? Because if you've had some that have been bagged up for 2 days, for example, you can't really open these up as soon as you get to your peg, because they're not going to have enough time to come round in time for your match. So if they have been bagged down for a long time, there's a couple of things that you can do. One is open them up possibly the night before, or even as soon as you get up that morning, to give them longer to come round, so by the time your match starts, they've come round and they're wriggling. The other option is, which takes a little bit more management and awareness, is just don't leave them bagged down for too long. I don't like to bag them down for too long. The maximum I'll keep them bagged down for is 2 days. If I've had these in the fridge for 2 days, I will simply one morning just open the bag up and let them come round. It might take 2 hours, it might take 5 hours, but they will come round, come back to life again. As soon as they're all wriggling back to life, I will then bag them down again and put them back in the fridge. That'll just mean that when I do want to bring them round, or if I want to bring them round, I'm not going to be waiting hours in order to do it, and that will make them last longer as well. You know, I've had maggots back down in my fridge. I've had some in there for possibly 5 or 6 weeks. As long as you bring them round every couple of days, that will keep them alive, and then just get them dormant again. It just means that, you know, you're not wasting bait. It means that if you want dead maggots, you can only take out the ones that you want. The rest you can keep nice and live, and, you know, it's just meaning that you're not wasting bait. That's the only downside with freezing maggots. I do like to freeze maggots. I think it's a great way of doing it. To freeze maggots, all I do is get those straight from the tackle shop and pop that straight in the freezer, and in a matter of a few hours they will be dead. However, once I've thawed them out, you cannot do anything else with them. If you don't use them, whatever's left you've got to throw away. It's just obviously helping you manage your bait a little bit better. It's making you aware that your bait is in tip-top condition, but let's face it, you know, it's also reducing waste as well, which is something that we don't want to do. Fishing's expensive enough as it is, and if we can do things like this, it's going to help you save money, and you know, it's ultimately going to allow you to enjoy your fishing more. And like me, you know, if you do want both dead and a few live, then by carrying one bag like that, you can actually get the best of both worlds. So I hope some of you have found this a little bit useful. You know, there are quite a few tips like this and things that I just want to share with you over the next few weeks, and if you want to see more tip videos like this, please give this one a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos from this channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. So thanks for watching. I hope you've got some value from this, and I look forward to seeing you next time.